Good morning. Welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, brought to you by CMG Home Loans. I'm Harvey Freed. He's Harry Glanz. Good morning, Harry.
Morning, everybody. We got a full studio, Harvey. It's like the old days.
Yes.
We're going to talk about COVID, but it's like before COVID.
Way before
And
COVID.
we're in. Everybody's in studio.
Is Becky Alley, top 1% of all originators, Scotsman guy, superstar. Hey, Beck, good morning.
Good morning, everyone. And we got a little, I don't know if you're watching us live on Facebook, but we were like, Chatty Cathy's in here. So we're like, oh, crap, we're going live.
Let me introduce you, everybody here. Stephanie Sacco, of course. Good morning, Stephanie. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Harry.
Real estate titan in the house. We got two brokers, one house. She's joined by Justin Woodbeck, Thrive Realty Co. So exciting to have you guys both in here.
Super pumped to be here. Thank you.
You guys got some huge announcement going on here. So how did this all happen? And I saw it all over social media this week. You guys have merged, or Stephanie's merging in and joining the people over at Thrive. Tell me a little bit about that, how it started, and Just, if you want to take that lead.
Yeah, honestly, like attracts like, and that's where it really originated from. Stephanie is a powerhouse in this industry, and one of the things that she is passionate about is the same thing we're passionate about at Thrive, which is taking care of our people. And so Thrive has a lot of systems, tools, and processes in place that we put together over the years that Stephanie wants to put together for her company. And we found through conversation that it was just simply an easy transition to go ahead and jump aboard. We already built the ship. You may as well go ahead and hop aboard.
Oh, I like
so
that.
That goes right into, like we say often, you don't have to walk the plank alone, right?
Exactly.
You don't have to struggle by yourself in silence and I often feel like that feeling where you know that you can do more, right? And you felt like you had these chains wrapped on you because you're not fulfilling your potential. So when you can plug into the systems that Thrive have, is I'm blessed enough to actually watch them function. They're like their own little ecosystem. If I'm not in the office once a week at least, I feel like the fake plant even grew a little bit larger. It's wild over there.
It's going to be an incredible change from me sitting at a desk in my house, right, where we have no physical brick and mortar. Just walking through that environment is incredible. The vibe in there, the systems, as Justin said, plugging into that is the best thing I could ever do for myself and all of the agents. It's going to be the best opportunity ever.
Yeah, plus the teamwork, right? You're going to have the support. You're going to have the team. You have everything built around you. You cannot succeed. I don't care what anybody does in life. You cannot succeed on your own, by yourself.
Absolutely not.
You need teammates. You need support staff. You need people in your corner. You need people rooting for you and helping you. You cannot do things on your own. Okay, if you're a lone wolf, you're not going to survive. You got to have a pack around you to survive.
All right, hey, we're going to take your calls too this morning. 248-539-9797. Justin, what do you got?
Yeah, I was just going to say, we do believe at Thrive you go further, faster together.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here.
No, I love that. Stephanie's awesome. Anyway, Stephanie and I have a long-time relationship, and we did some business together. She's that top 10% of all the agents that we always talk about. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes real estate fun still, is you get that pre-approval out to them. They know that the buyer can close. It's like they get those offers accepted. It's the other 90% I'm always worried about because they're really bogging down the system. Again, always looking to get better. They call it leveling up. There's all sorts of different names we've been using for really giving out your 100% effort. And Becky, you know all about putting that 100% effort to get people in homes.
Yeah, it's important. You have to be dialed in. You have to also be very empathetic right now. There's a lot of uncertainty between even those in the industry, but especially those that are buying right now. We've been through such a washer machine, it's like cycle almost, where it's like it was COVID, then it was this, then it's that, and you have the rates and affordability, right? Affordability of homes has been, going to the moon, it feels like, for most people, and they're barely affording their rent, and their mindset is, well, if I can't afford this rent, how can I ever afford a home, right? That mindset is there, and you have to kind of help people shed that armor off of them and realize that you can own a home. You actually probably could afford a home better than you could afford the house that you're currently renting because the landlord didn't care what the interest rate was. He's going to cash flow that property and his taxes just went up. So he's pushing that on you. Whereas now, if you are going to be owner of your own home, there's so many programs out there that we can help you get in that position, right? It's all about even in your professionally, right? You can have the right people in the wrong position. You have the right people in the wrong seats. You could be living in the wrong home, but if you're not willing to kind of just open up your eyes to that, you're living a life that it's not really for you.
248-539-9797. We are going to take your calls all morning long. It's funny. I think we all would just talk our ears off, and this could be the first segment where there's like a little bit of, wait a minute, whose turn is it to talk? You guys just throw it out there at you. But there's so much to share. And again, it's really been exciting. I got a great offer accepted just the other day. And I love when I get a great deal in my hands, Harry. And still, we have time to get the families closed at the end of May. May's a longer month. So we got May 31st May 30th is the Friday of this month.
Well, don't forget about that holiday in there, Harvey.
Oh, there is a little bit of a holiday.
holiday items. Yeah.
People are checking out. But
People are like boats, the drop
but
in the water.
And think about what Becky's saying, these down payment assistance programs, right? If you go in the Wayback Time Machine, and still to this day, people say, I can afford the payment. I just don't know where I'm coming up with the down payment, right? How many times do you guys hear that every single day? I know I can afford the payment, but where am I coming up with the money to put down? There are so many down payment assistance programs that can help with that now that people really have to come up with less money down, get the DPA program, whether it's Mist or whomever. Becky's got 1 million of them. And you can afford that payment, because why pay 100% interest to a landlord when you could be in your own place? Now, we're talking about interest rates. We have to. Fed held steady rates for the 6th time again. They're not going down anytime soon. People know this. You guys know this. Realtors know this in the real world. Your problem is home inventory. Talk about it. Talk about it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that problem's not going away anytime soon.
Either. Right.
We're stuck in this chicken and the egg conversation. We have a lot of people out there that would love to move, but they don't necessarily know where they're going to go. We hear the conversation all the time. I would like to move today. I have a need to move today, except I have no idea where my next house is going to be. I know my house is going to sell in a New York minute, and yet that leaves me potentially homeless. So it makes them just sit in stagnation, and they choose not to move forward. And so what we find is a lot of times when really good homes do hit the market, they're gone literally in a matter of 24 to 72 hours. And we have probably, I don't even know what the pent up demand would be for people that want to get out and sell their homes, but it's massive. I talk to people literally daily that want to move or have a desire to move that just feel stuck.
I agree with you. So what I actually had a really deep dive conversation. I had 2 of them this week, but one of them was like last night, I think up until like 8 o'clock, we're on Zoom. And it is that romanticizing of, I have this 3% interest rate,
right,
so I have to stay here in this home that no longer serves me. I am busting at the seams with my children and their friends and their friends' friends and their boyfriends and their girlfriends. And now do I stay and do I take cash out and blow out my basement, which was the mentality of the COVID, the COVID era, or do I not do that and I move on and find something else, and where am I going to go?
Becky,
right?
I'm going to throw this out there, right? Somebody, if they could find a house, and you guys, Stephanie, Justin, you could confirm this. If people could find the house that they want to move to, they'll blow out that 3% rate for a 7.5% rate.
Absolutely.
The rate is immaterial. So when I tell you this, if somebody could find a house that they really want, they'll give up whatever rate they have to get the house that they want. Because eventually, we don't know when. Anybody who says they do, they're lying to you. We don't know when rates are going to come down, but they will. But that's not the primary focus. The primary focus is finding a house.
Yes.
And they're just not there.
Yeah. So the conversation went, I said, okay, we got to let go of that idea, because you're locking in the price of the home. The interest rate is a piece of that pie. It's a piece of cake to make a cake, right? It's a piece of whatever you're trying to do. It's not the whole thing. So if we can get you into a house that is turnkey and ready for you, that 3% is arbitrary, because you can always slide the rate right back down when they do change, right? Affording what you can. Do what you got to do, get in the right house, but don't stay stuck because you're not stuck. That's a mental thing that you have to get past for sure.
Right. The other thing, log jamming the inventory as well, is, baby boomers comprise one of the largest segments of home ownership in America. And a lot of them are slowing down the rate of downsizing. They're actually choosing to age in place. And so we're seeing downsizing actually dwindle as we move throughout the decade. So, if they would just simply choose to do what their parents did and downsize into an appropriate size house instead of live in their 2,500 to 3,500 square foot home,
I'm staying.
we'd start seeing,
I'm staying.
It's your fault. I told you.
So here it is. You just confirmed what I've been saying forever. Okay. I'm not moving. I have a first floor master. Been in the house 32 years. We renovated a little bit here and there, a lot. Ask my wife, a lot. And why am I going to move if I have what I have? If I have a first floor master and all that, but you're right. Boomers are going to stay longer because if they have what they have, where are you going to go? I mean, that's the reality of it, Justin. You hit the nail on the head.
For sure. And then you have that other massive pocket, which is the millennials, right? Which is the 24 to, I think I'm borderline in it, whatever, they keep moving it. But the 24 to 39 will say that is over 43 million people that are constantly entering the buyer's pool with nowhere to go.
In.
Yes.
Yeah, they want to get in.
And they have it the toughest right now because you are competing with investors. You're competing with the people that already have the equity, and they
Competing
are coming
with Wall
in.
Street.
Yeah. They are coming in guns a-blazing, though. I have quite a few in the top tier price point for themselves, and they are ready to compete, which is a beautiful thing. So when you're trying to like help people, you know what they're getting into, right? So you're like, you just got to have that mental, like, know what your max is, know what your max comfortable, your comfortability is, and then I'm getting with someone like Stephanie being like painting the picture, right? This is where we're at. Help us find this little box to get these people in.
I just had a conversation with, excuse me, a woman yesterday, and she was like, I know now is not the best time to buy. I know now is not the best rates, the inventory. So I'm going to wait. I'm like, wait, what are we waiting for? Like exactly what you just said, Becky, was let's find your max. Let's find your goals. She's like, oh, I'm going to be really picky. I'm like, perfect. Let's be picky. Let's get you what you want. She's narrowed down. I want a yard. I want all of these amazing things. And I said, we're going to find this for you. But what we have to go in is with our strong pre-approval, we have to get all the way through our underwriting. We have to be the strongest buyer in your category, and we're going to nail it. She was like, oh, I feel so much better.
Yeah, it's who you work with matters, and setting people up for success is the best way to throw your hat in the ring. You want to buy a house? Let's get that hat in the ring.
All right, when's the right time to buy a house? We're going to share with you all of that and a whole lot more. 248 and all your calls, 248-539-9797. Keep it here. The Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show, again, brought to you by CMG Home Loans. You can reach us at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. Taking your calls all morning long at 248-539-9797. And don't worry, we got sports all day long. We're going to talk about that heartbreak last night as the Tigers took it on the chin. I don't watch it, Harry, because I don't have the games anymore. I got to figure this out.
Well, listen, it's obvious you're not going to win too many games if you only score one run.
Well, that's
just the way
thing.
it is. I mean, just do the math.
Hey, let's roll out to Keith this morning. Keith, thanks for calling the show. You got a question about mortgages, and go ahead. Here you go, Keith. You're live on the 97.1. Go ahead.
Do you hear me?
Yeah,
Good
we can
morning.
hear you now,
Hello?
Keith. Thanks.
Okay. So I was wondering, with the current interest rates and that, I'm looking at a mortgage. I'm pre-approved. Is it better to go with an ARM, or doing a 5-1 ARM like at a 5 3/4 as opposed to 6.5 fixed rate?
Well,
What
are you paying for the ARM, number one? Are you paying any points or the cost, or what's that? That's number one. Number two is, how long do you plan on staying in the house?
Well, so we're looking at the cost of the ARM. I don't believe there's any points, my credit union told me, but so we're just paying whatever the regular costs are for a mortgage. But we're looking to stay in the house. This is going to be our final retirement house. All right. So, but we're not. We're going to have it paid off within the next couple of years. We're taking like a 10 or 15 year, but I expect to pay this off within the next 3 to 5 years.
Well, then there's your answer. Okay, take the lower rate. If you pay it off, that's the answer to your question. I would do that. If you know that you're going to pay it off, do that.
Right.
Bye.
Yeah. So you can't. What I was thinking was, with the interest rates coming, if they're going to come down, I wonder if and we don't know if they're going to come down fast enough, because obviously the ARM would not adjust downward if it got below 5 3/4.
I mean, if you're going to secure, you're kind of like, really what the big picture is, you have to also understand that if you're going to take an ARM, and if you're not going to have that house paid off in the next 5 years, and now you're not retired and now you are retired, you have to now understand that your income level is going to completely change. So if you're in a position where you need to refinance, that ARM could cause you some problems. If you're in a different financial position that isn't going to be able to secure that same income of whatever your total debts are at that time. So just be cognizant of that.
What's the difference in the payment from your fixed to your ARM? So the reason why I'm asking, if it's a couple $100 a month, you might want to do the math. Is it worth the risk? And then when it adjusts, you're probably on a 2.6 adjustment where it's going to adjust maximum 2% in that first year. So you can go from 5 3/4 to 7 3/4, depending on what the rate is at that time. So there's a lot of variables.
I didn't realize this could adjust in the first year. I thought it was 5 years.
No. After the 5th year, it's going to adjust.
Right.
So to whatever, probably 2%, but we don't know what rates are going to be in 5 years. But the bottom line is, you're betting. It's the bet where you're saying, and you did say you're going to pay it off within 5 years. So if you do, it's a moot point. It's not going to adjust because it's paid off. Bottom line is, you're taking a calculated risk. The money you save now, depending on how much you save now, if you don't pay it off and you let it roll over and it does adjust, you'll start giving money back. And if you start giving money back, depending on how long you're going to be there, we don't want you to be stuck in an ARM. So ARMs are short term.
Would you refinance? Would you refinance out of the ARM and say 3 years if it's down?
Are you going to pay it off?
When we refinance it, may or may not. Everything's kind of, it depends on the market.
Yes,
the market,
right. Yeah, so everything is kind of like you're in a moving, you're trying to hit a moving target going 1,000 miles an hour, not even there yet, right? So I definitely think that, we'll call you after the show off air and get a little bit more of a deep dive of what your financial goals are, right? You not just looking at your nose, but where do you see yourself truly in the next 5 years? How soon are you going to be refinancing? What is your cash flow situation? If something happens in the market that you can't control, are you able to get yourself out of that position? I'm not a fan of ARMs sometimes, just for that risk. I come from a different era, early 2000s. So you have that kind of stigma attached to me. But at the same time, it makes sense when it makes sense for the individual person, but you have to do a very deep dive. You have to make sure you're entering into an adjustable rate mortgage with your eyes open and preparing for the worst if that does adjust.
All right, listen here, an arm and a leg, whatever it is, a thumb, look, you better figure out what it is. But again, you're locked in for 5 or 7 years. If you think you're going to pay off this mortgage in that 5 or 7 year term, take the lower interest rate and roll the dice a little. If you think, like you said, Becky, great point. It's not this call. It's for all the other listeners out there. If your income's going to change, you can't gamble with it because life does change change on you quickly. All of a sudden, you need to come up with a chunk of money, and you might have been better off with a fixed rate.
Yeah,
fixed
because
rate's
once
a
you
little bit more
retire,
conservative.
and
There
that's
you go.
where, like, we talk to a lot of
Little
people that
different
are
angle.
buying houses before they retire, but once you retire, you make what you make, and that is it.
Right.
You can't just go, I'm going to work a couple more extra hours, or maybe you got to get a second job. So it's very important that when you're entering that, you're looming around that retirement age. We're very empathetic about that, but we're making sure you're looking at the right areas of your life later,
There you
not
go.
just right now.
Well,
Put a whole plan together.
We like certainty, right? We like certainty. An ARM is not certain, right? It's not fixed. So we like certainty. If you're going to be there for a long period of time, all right, and you think you're going to pay it off, go the shorter term. But if you're uncertain about what you're going to do in 5 years, I don't think it's worth the gamble. Even if you think rates are going to go down, are rates going to go down to 5 3/4 or under? Nobody knows that. So that's uncertainty. So you want to be, if you're conservative and you want to watch out for your family and, you know, you want to have things that are certain in your life, fine. If not, roll the dice. But we are not big fans of ARMs unless they work for your individual situation.
Yeah. Is $100 that you're saving, is it really worth that headache and that risk of potentially putting yourself in a position where you now have a payment you can't afford? No, it's not for me, especially if I'm going to be adding additional to my principal. I'd rather control what I can control. And if life happens, I know I still have a payment I can afford.
We can get into a whole conversation about ARMs because they're amortized over 30 years, and there's a lot more to discuss. But it's a great call. And again, 248-539-9797 if you want to talk more about it. But I want to dive into when's the right time to buy a house, because we have so many people with the phone calls. You guys are inundated with all these new buyers, and I love it. I love all the excitement out there, but they're fighting over the homes. And again, even our friends out there on social media, hey, they're advertising, I just got an offer accepted, sold, 30 showings, 20 offers, all of that. It's every day on every house. There's no doubt about it, Steph. That's what we're seeing out there, is this constant competition out there for those real nice homes.
Most certainly. If something's moving ready, if something's ready to go on the market, it's everything that everyone wants. And of course, there's going to be more than 5-10 buyers that are going to want that. So it's daunting. It's frightening for these buyers. So we're moving into, this market isn't changing. So when is the right time to buy? Now. Right now, if you need housing, now is a great time to buy. If you need to downsize, it's a great time. If you need to upsize, there's not going to be a better time. Prices are just going to continue to go up. Again, we don't know the uncertainty of the interest rates, so we're not even talking. I don't even talk about interest rates.
Yeah.
But when we need housing, we need it. We need to change our lives, and there's no time like the present to do this.
So in this situation, for the buyers that are trying to nail down these offers, right? And, you know, we're always one decision from changing our lives. So what is something that you're seeing that can help a buyer stand out in this very competitive market? Because people, you know, we talked off and like now's the time. But really what we're saying is we're speaking to the individuals where you're ready, right? But if you're not ready now, get that game plan in place, right? So what are some things that a buyer could maybe specifically do to stand out?
The number one thing, obviously you've got an agent that has to know what they're doing. You can't dabble in you cannot dabble in real estate and hope to get something in a multi-bid arena. Okay, that's number one. Every single term on that contract besides the price is important. And I'm going to be honest, there are a lot of agents out there that don't understand that. And of course the buyers don't know. I mean, we're here to guide them. But the number one factor that people seem to forget is the money. You're buying a house with financing. If we do not have that pre-approval in line and we do not have a lender that's going to be a part of our team, there's no deal.
Yeah, I love that. And like I preach often, we have to be in a lopsided boat right now more so than ever. But that is true. So anyone, depending on if you are out there and you're buying a house right now, what you're hearing and what we preach about on the show every week is who you work with matters. That is why we have the highest level of agents and brokers in every week saying the same things. It's blocking and tackling. It's the layups. It's the things you do in private that come out in public. These are the things that are helping people win. You can't just throw a rock and be like, oh, I made a ripple in the water. Let's see where it lands. Like, you have to be very intentional with everything that you're doing in this market because it is so competitive.
Well, and there's so many little tips and tricks and things that you can do when you're submitting offers on houses to, you know, stand out in the crowd. But the common denominator here is aligning with professionals that are competent. And last year in 2023, 70% of the homes that sold in America were sold by realtors that only sold one home. That stat has never existed in the history of real estate. It's an unbelievable, shocking stat. And so if I have any advice to anybody, it's align with professionals like Stephanie. You know, it's align with professionals on the mortgage side like all of you. Somebody who can actually competently guide them through, that has the industry relationships to be able to provide the value that that buyer needs. I see Stephanie get offers accepted at a higher rate than average realtors out there because of the relationships she has. It happens same way with me as well. And so making sure that you're with somebody who can guide you through effectively and has the relationships in the industry to be able to get it done ultimately is the number one key.
Yeah, the other agent's got to make sure that deal's going to close for sure. There's a lot of things you can do also when you're making this decision to become a homeowner. And one of them is to truly get this knowledge that you're talking about, Becky, behind you, and really look at your finances and everything involved. Because, yes, you're buying a house, you've got electric bills and gas bills and water bills, and there's more involved. So the more education you have, the more success you're going to have. And also things you can do to really benefit yourself, like improve that credit score or take a look at your overall credit right now to determine where your sweet spot is on that purchase price and how much extra money you got, because everything's going over asking. You might need to dig into that 401k, which means we need to break down some numbers for you and figure everything out.
Yeah, there's a lot of individuals that don't even know that you can actually borrow from your 401k. I just had a really deep dive conversation with a first-time buyer yesterday just to have additional reserves. So you have to have the conversations. If you're thinking about buying between now and the next 5 years, have the conversation so we can get you on a game plan and set you up with someone like Stephanie for sure.
All right, tons of real estate and mortgages when we come back. 248-539-9797. Keep it here. All righty, welcome back to the show. It is the Hardcore Mortgage Real Estate Business Show. You can give us a call, 248-539-9797. I'm Harvey Freed. She's Becky Alley. Harry Glanz on the mortgage side. Stephanie Sacco, Justin Woodbeck, of course, join us from Thrive Realty. And are we still using that other name too, Steph? How does that work?
You know, I think how we're doing it, and this is all fresh and new and exciting. So Michigan Power Brokers merged into Thrive, so we're powered by Thrive.
Oh, I like that.
And they are fueling us. It is incredible. So it's kind of like now I've got Michigan Power Brokers team, and we're embedded within Thrive. So yeah, we're still kind of using the name.
We like the powered by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by CMG Home Loans. We like it.
Powered
we
by.
love them powered by
because you get faster, further together. Like you said, it's like how you do it. You have to have the right people behind you to make sure that we are doing the things. And a lot of your success is because we're able to stand on the shoulders of people that are strong enough to hold us up there so we can service the people that we talk to every day the right ways. So I think it's a beautiful thing.
Steph, before we go to this call, tell us about that listing you got, because it sounds like a great house that you got on the marketplace, and I think everyone's looking for homes to buy. So what do you got?
Yeah, so this is not a first-time buyer home. This is a move-up buyer, and
nice.
It's a really hard price point to nail. We're in the 1.4 million here, and it's in Bloomfield Hills, east side of Bloomfield. But we've got incredible amenities here. We've got walkout basement, brand new kitchen with all the Sub-Zero Wolf, walls removed, brand new flooring, double door walls, leads out to private play structure with in-ground pool.
Okay, that's hard to find now.
Mm-hmm. It is a dream, an absolute dream. Refreshed bathrooms, the space, there's privacy yet openness. And I'll tell you what, it's just waiting for its perfect buyer.
Well, we see new construction branches in these Cape Cods that are at 1.4 million. So how many square feet do you get like in that area?
This is about 4,000 square feet.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Not
this
even
is a huge
including,
house.
The basement.
And a lot of new construction now here. You see it in all around Oakland County, 2,000 square feet, 2,300 square feet. They're going for $1 million plus all over our backyard.
It's unbelievable. You can't find a house, and we drive the neighborhoods all the time. We go all over the Tri-County area and more, and looking at these homes for sale. They're snapped up in a minute at all price points. I mean, if it's in moving condition, like you said, it's going to go.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, reach out to these guys. Call Thrive Realty. Ask for Stephanie. She'll give you even a private showing of the house. She'll set up the arrangement for it. If you're looking for a fun backyard, Becky's got a fun backyard, definitely with a pool, 4,000 square feet. That's what these homes go for nowadays. And of course, the zip code, Bloomfield Hills. You're not going to go wrong there with the great schools. Hey, we're going to move off to a caller, Ron. And good morning, Ron. You are live on the ticket. Go ahead with your question.
Good morning. Love the show.
Good morning. Thanks.
Son is a kind of unusual situation. He's trying to buy a first home. It's a condo from a relative. No real estate involved as of yet. Agreed upon price. He has a large cash down payment. Been pre-approved. The problem is they're saying we don't need to provide title insurance, and we can do this on our own. We don't need to have a real estate involved. And I'm like, I called a local agent who agreed to do all the paperwork for less than 1%. And they're balking at that. And doesn't the seller always provide title insurance?
So you are purchasing a house between family, correct? Is that
Correct.
what I'm hearing you? Okay, so technically in Michigan owner's policy, it is optional, right? But both parties have to agree to that if you wanted to do it. But we do never recommend that because you want to make sure that you're getting your property free of any claims and all the things, right? But you have to sign off on that. And a lot of times that's only really done that way if you are purchasing from family, but that would be like you buying my house. I have some wall side windows that I forgot about. The lien doesn't show up. You waive your owner's policy, and then this ghost lien comes up, and now it's going to be attached to your son's property. I always think it's very important to have real estate professionals involved, whether you're purchasing between family, like doing that, the generational house swapping. So I definitely, whoever you're working with, I would actually seek into that. And the purpose of waiving the owner's policy is actually to try to make it cheaper on the seller side. And I think I want Justin to chime in because I know I can see him. His eyes are turning because he's very passionate about this particular topic because a buyer being represented always is key.
Well, I'm happy to chime in here.
I'm all for hiring this agent, but the other part of the family is not. So
well, I have a question actually for Becky.
Okay.
Becky, can you fund a mortgage on a property that does not have an owner's policy attached and is being transferred via warranty deed?
You can do because it's on the seller's side, right? So owner's policy, yes, but lender's policy,
Lender policy
no.
still has to stay.
Yes, lender's policy is in place no matter what.
Yeah. So
And
to
I
the
did-
caller,
I did bring that up because he's getting a very like a 30% mortgage for the total price of the home. The rest is cash.
Okay,
And
but
he said with that mortgage, the bank will charge him a fee to insure that mortgage, and that's good enough. He doesn't need title insurance.
The
that
owner's
is-
policy is a
that
seller
is-
fee.
Yeah.
in
That is
Michigan.
title insurance. You're going to have title insurance on your side because you're getting a mortgage. So the lender, we would require title insurance on that. So you're getting it, you're paying for it, and there has to be free and clear title in order to be any size of a mortgage, a first mortgage on that house. So what you're hearing is correct.
Does the seller usually provide that? Or is
No,
that
no.
There's
something
two different
that's-
policies.
No.
Yeah, maybe deep dive on that. There's two different policies. So there's an owner's policy that's on the seller side. There's the lender's policy that's on the buyer side. We always recommend that both are in place to ensure the buyer is in a position of strength. Should something happen down the road, that owner's policy means something, right? There's things that can come onto play legally. So the seller in Michigan, typically that is on the seller side. They pay the owner's policy, but as a lender, we require the lender's title policy because we have to make sure that we are in first lien position, because if we are the majority investor of this property, and even if we're either way, if we have any kind of investment in a property, we have to make sure that it's free of any liens and claims and we are in first position.
Just, I see your head spinning over here. Hey, Ron, hold on a second here. Just, there's a lot of things that, again, hopefully everything goes great for anybody. But, just when he said condo, the only thing that came to my mind was association fees and back association fees and things that weren't paid and maybe some old liens on the property.
Yeah,
it's a little scary, but again, everything should work out.
there can be so many hidden encumbrances on that title,
Yes.
and that's why you want a warranty deed when you're selling. And the only way to do that is with an owner's policy. Ron, let me ask you, what's the purchase price roughly of this condo?
125.
Okay, so we're talking about a relatively nominal owner's title policy.
Yeah.
Your son, if the seller is digging their heels in and unwilling to make the change, your son can pay for that. They can choose to pay for it. And quite frankly, it would be smart for them to do if they're truly just roadblocking it on the sell side. It's just not worth to take this condo over with a quick claim deed or anything that's not allowing full assurance that there's no encumbrances.
I like that.
Absolutely. On top of the fact that there's already going to be a discounted commission, the seller is not paying a lot of fees at this point in time. So if they're unwilling to do that, then the extra $500-$600 that your son's going to pay is going to be well worth it. When you can lay your head at night knowing that the house is his, there's nothing that's going to come up later on that's going to affect him. Because when you're dealing with the condo, you have other things going on as well.
Go ahead, Ron. Last words. Go ahead.
I'm all for that. Now, if he doesn't want to use an agent, which I would rather we did, he says the title company can figure out proration of taxes and everything else involved.
Yes, they do all that.
Yeah, the lender can do that as well, right? But that's what we're talking about. Like, who you work with matters. That's why having an agent represent you matters, because there's so many things that go on behind the scenes that buyers and sellers, when they're trying to do this by themselves, that it's very hard to navigate that. There's so many pieces that nobody knows that we do behind scenes, and title gets that, like that, it's not so sexy kind of thing, but title is everything. That is the reason why you can finance the property, because there's liens and they're identifying that. And they go back to the chain of title from the inception of this property. So there's so many things going on behind the scenes that the professionals that you are hiring are going to make or break you in these type of transactions.
All right. Thanks for the call, Ron. Definitely 248-539-9797.
It is an insurance policy. That's why it's called title insurance. You're buying a policy to ensure that the title is free and clear. It's that simple.
I like where Just went with it too. He's like, it doesn't even cost that much money to protect
Just
yourself.
go
See
ahead
why?
and do it.
Yeah, it's like waiving a private home inspection.
No.
Don't do it. You want to know what's happening. I want someone to hurt my feelings on a property that I'm about to buy, right? Does it have good bones or is it lipstick?
Right,
okay?
or not, right?
Yeah, I need to know these things, because once you own the property, or just like you drive that car off the lot, it's yours now.
It sounds like Ron's of the right mindset. I want a realtor in this to help my son out. And a lot of people think that the purpose of a realtor is to help with marketing or maybe even negotiation. And while that's correct, our biggest function, the biggest value that a competent realtor provides is protection from liability. And we have a transaction here that he's talking about that's already, before inception, there's already points of contention.
Yeah.
And so the likelihood of this simply going sideways at some point, because you have the blind leading the blind, unfortunately, I don't mean to sound negative, but that is the reality.
Sometimes that's the case.
We see there is a stat. It's about 89% of all civil suits involving real estate involve for sale by owners or unguided transactions. And the overwhelming majority of those still have an attorney reviewing everything. And it's simply because nobody knows the process of buying and selling real estate. They certainly don't know it to the degree of a competent professional realtor. And so they would serve themselves well to connect with somebody, not necessarily the person throwing the lowest price point at them like it sounded like happened.
Yeah. And I'm going to say this because Justin won't say it about himself. He is one of the most involved broker owners of a real estate company I've ever had the privilege of watching up close. He knows his stuff. He practices it. He researches. He doesn't just speak and shoot from the hip. He is backing it with intelligent knowledge. And when you are in the room with him, he speaks from his heart. He's empathetic, but he's knowledgeable and he knows what he's talking about when it comes to that, because it is true. He sees the stats because he's the one that's taking the calls. And he's helping other people.
And that's why Justin purchase agreements in this day and age are 4 or 5 pages long. And I'll bet you know every paragraph in them. And we always say it. Purchase agreements are what? Legal documents.
Exactly.
And that's why they're in there. So if you don't read them, they're covered. I mean, they cover everything, but you should read it. And
yeah, so when you're click here. If your agent is not pulling you back to what your eyes should be looking at, you need a different agent or reevaluate that relationship. So you need to read what you are signing.
Oh my God, what am I signing here? Well,
it said click here. My initials. I adopt a signature, and I'm
what
good,
did I
right?
Sign? 9:41 this morning here, Saturday. It's going to be a gorgeous day here in Southeast Michigan. Come and join us. 248-539-9797. We'll be right back. Alrighty. Welcome back to the show, 9:45. That's right. Hang in there. We got a lot of sports coming up. Keep it right here. Pat Caputo follows us at 10 o'clock. That's cool. 248-539-9797. Hey, you can reach us at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. And if you want to do something about mortgages, your kids buying, and you just have these additional questions, give us a call. It's free to talk with us. You can talk with us, Becky, anytime. We even give out our cell phones once you get to know us.
Yeah, well, actually, our cell phones are out there. We're available all the time. But I want to pull it back. So we had a great caller because this is actually happening quite often in our industry right now, right, is house swapping. People, so that's like, it's also feeding into the lack of inventory, right, where families buying from family, right? So you can hear in Ron's voice, Stephanie, that he knows that he needs to be represented. He wants his son to be represented. So how would you combat that if you're like someone's trying to hire you as only the transaction coordinator, right? Like stepping up to make sure that they are making the right decisions, because it kind of seems like as soon as that discounted item comes onto play, like then the agent, in this particular situation sounds like he's stepping out a little bit. So how do you kind of just, insert that value, because it is invaluable to have that proper representation?
So when you're hired as a transaction coordinator, you've already got, your buyer and seller have made this deal, all of the terms already contractual. You're just putting the paperwork together. I get these calls weekly. You still have to have your level of service. I don't just do paperwork. I'm making sure no one is getting sued. I'm doing things like Justin's saying, where we're talking about what is necessary in the deal to provide the value so that we don't have litigation possibly in the future. So I'm not just doing the paperwork and saying, here, let's let the title company handle it. I'm saying, hey, did you do an inspection? Hey, did you look for these items? Hey, are you considering this? Are you considering that? I'm bringing things to the table because they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what they're doing. So if I don't guide this while being a transaction coordinator, I'm not representing one or the other as a transaction coordinator, but I'm making sure that no step is missed between the beginning and then the final closing day.
Yeah, it's like the menu is not the meal, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It is the experience that you are paying for a lot of the times, right? You can go and get some, Happy Meal if you want, or you can go and look at a menu, but really get an experience along with that. And that's what we're describing here. Is it's all about these individual experiences for these buyers. And when you're trying to cheap out, sometimes you get what you pay for because you don't know what you don't know. And there's so many things that go on behind the scenes, so many things that could go wrong. And if you don't have the right person in your corner that are just doing the bare minimum, you are setting yourself for failure in this market, because it is very competitive. Condos come with a lot of extra paperwork, bylaws. What is a part of that association? Is there litigation on this condo association? Are they going to be replacing the roofs? Is your 250 association dues going to be going up to 400 in the next 6 months because you didn't know that there was some things going on with the roads and the pavement? So there's a lot that goes on with condos specifically. So Ron, we're definitely going to call you. We're going to make sure you have the right people in place for your son, because this is a very important, transaction. It's probably going to be the biggest one he makes in a minute. And he needs to have that proper guidance.
So every major lender out there has a condominium association department where they check master deed bylaws, insurances, everything going on, lawsuits, anything that's going on in that project. So as a lender, we have to have backup, an entire department that looks out for our borrower to make sure that that condo has an appropriate budget, that there are no lawsuits against it, that there are no crazy things going on in that building that they're buying. Okay, so we check everything out, and we try to have the borrower back every single way. And also, last but not least, got to get that title insurance. Whether he pays for it or not, it doesn't really matter. You just have to have that policy.
Hey guys, they brought it up, condos. Let's talk about condos a little bit. For younger people, I like home ownership, and the reason why is, like Becky said, association fees, they're killer. They start a minimum of $250. That's a lot of buying power right there, like $60. It's about $40,000 to $60,000 in buying power to a $250 association. You talk about a $400 association fee, your buying power just went up like $60,000 to $80,000. This is like huge, and I think it's missed a little bit. And then the other part about condos, and I love them for a lot of folks, especially a lot of single women, sometimes single men who are working all the time. They don't want to cut the lawn. I know I'm cutting the lawn last night at 8:00 at night. I like it, but that's me. But let's just talk a little bit about that, like really placing yourself in the right situation, because condos don't typically go up in value as much as a home.
Well, they're pretty cookie cutter, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're easy to appraise.
Okay.
They're easy to value. the thing about a condo, though, you do have those people. They're professionals. They say, "I don't have time for the lawn. I don't have time for this." But these are also people that understand home ownership. They're coming from home ownership. There are very few first-time buyers that even understand the difference when they get a pre-approval that they cannot afford a condo.
Yeah, it's different.
Right.
There are so many agents that will go on and they'll be putting, which is why we have to do our due diligence.
Yeah.
So I'll get offers all the time, first-time buyers. I've got this pre-approval, and I'm like, you can't afford this condo. Like, I already know.
Yeah.
And I'm being presented with this. So clients have to have the understanding of you have less buying power with the condo, like you said, Harvey, and it's not necessarily the right move. You know, that with those bylaws, the bylaws are killer.
Sometimes, right? If you got 2 dogs already, or if you know, something like that, even, and your dogs are over 50 or 60 pounds, this could be an issue. There's just these little things that pop up, and not having these great conversations. Justin, I want to hang out with you a lot more, but there's a lot of reasons why. But besides the reason, because you know a lot of this, you deep dive into things. And I think that's what's great about having this experience and education behind you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, condos are challenging for people, but also I get that conversation from buyers all the time. You know, I travel a lot, I work a lot. I'm getting to an age I don't want to do my own maintenance anymore, and I understand that. But half the time, you have to look at the amenities that you're getting for those HOA fees, and if it truly just involves that ground maintenance and common area maintenance and maybe snow removal, well, if you're paying $250 a month for that, guess what? You could do that on your own at your own house for far less, and now you're living in a commodity that's easier to sell if you ever decide to eventually move on from it.
All right,
and there's a reason
Go
too.
ahead.
There's a reason why, like on the lending side, so behind the scenes, people don't understand. Not only does the person have to be approved, the condo has to also be approved, because there's so many working parts, and we are now a part of a community. And you could get, your home could be foreclosed on if you're not making those association dues. And I actually had a file that went all the way to closing, and we kept asking for the status letter. And what a status letter is, letting you know that the HOA and all that is in good standing. They hit us the day before closing. The HOA dues was going from $350 to $850, and here we are up to. And it wasn't no fault of mine. The sellers, like, no one knew, because the association was holding back this letter. And once they hit us with that letter, the buyer could not afford the property anymore. And even if they could, they didn't want it, because it was just going to price them out too far in their budget. So there's a lot of moving parts with condos. So, and it's very important, if you are looking at a condo listing, I'm going to say your lender needs to know, because if I have you pre-approved at $250 and I got you maxed out because you're trying to be competitive, and you slap an extra $250, well, now we just bumped you down to $225 easy. You have to know.
With all this being said, I had a wonderful closing on Monday in a condominium in Royal Oak, and it's awesome. It's great. And again, there's a lot of great reasons. Had a workout facility. There's a lot of great reasons why condos even work for young people too. Hey, let's roll off to this call. We got Eric calling in. Eric, you're live on the ticket.
Hey there, how's it going?
Good morning. Go ahead with your question.
Yeah, as a young adult, I don't have the money for down payments to buy a home this year. Have a rental from a brother of mine in a great situation out here in St. Clair Shores, but my wife and I really want to buy a home, and with money spent for our wedding, having student debt, we can only save so much. We think maybe a year from now we'll be able to afford what we want. But you said earlier in the show, buy now. But we're just curious what you believe the market outlook might be.
Becky, this is Becky's thing.
Yay for this call, because this is one of the biggest things. The 3 first-time buyer mistakes that people make are: you think you need 20% down to buy a house, you're not keeping enough money in the bank, but then you don't even try. That's the biggest one. And this is a perfect call, because you don't know what you don't know. And there's a reason in our market there are so many down payment assistance programs to specifically help individuals like yourself, because you're renting, you want to have a home ownership. And if you're a first-time buyer, there are programs where we can give you $10,000. There's programs where you can get $15,000. There's programs where you can actually even set up an online campaign, and anybody can gift you money to help you for your down payment. So, and depending on what your guys' income level is, so through the state of Michigan, they just upped the income limit. So combined, if you guys have a household income of $95,500 and you're not in a targeted area, you're good. You're going to qualify for that $10,000. If you are, if you have a family of 3, you can be up to $110,000 in certain areas. So this is perfect for you, because that $10,000 is now going to take you to that next level, because it is life-changing money. So you don't have to have all of the funds available because we have the programs that are going to help you get to where you're going a lot faster.
Yeah.
A year from now, the same house is going to be a lot more. So have the conversation. I'm looking forward to talking to you after the show.
Yeah,
for sure.
definite candidate, Eric. Eric, quick question though. Do you want that wedding money back? Or I don't know. Did you guys throw down that night? Do you have a kegger? What was going down at that wedding? Do you want that money back to buy a house?
I had a COVID wedding, eloped, but we're doing our celebration with family, friends. It's going to be great this
All right, well then
August.
perfect. So we have a program. It's called Home
There you
Funded,
go.
where for all that gift money from the wedding, so that whatever you missed out on because there was COVID wedding, I got married in 2021 right after. But we have a perfect program for you where you can set up your online gifting platform, and everyone that should have been at that wedding can now help you purchase your home. And I think it's going to be a beautiful thing once I get you set up on this. I think people will be more than happy to contribute towards your future.
Hey, Eric, can I ask you, what are you paying right now in rent?
$1,500.
$1,500. See, it's going to cost you $18,000 this year to not make a decision to move forward. And that's if you were even looking at purchasing a $200,000 house and it also appreciated even
10%.
4%.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go real conservative.
Yeah.
4%. That's
Yeah.
another $8,000 on top of that. And so it stacks up very quickly. It's worth taking an effort to try to see if you can get pre-approved, see if you qualify for any of these programs. That Home Funded is phenomenal. It's essentially a GoFundMe,
Yep.
for purchasing a home.
And
Yep,
you
it
change your
opens up the
wants
door.
list a little bit, just a little bit. Maybe you change to another city or something. All of a sudden, home affordability is right there for you.
Yeah, so if you're trying to stay at around a $1,500 budget, we can get you in a perfect price point with an amazing, real estate agency behind you to help you, guide you. And then with us on the pre-approval letter, I know for sure we're going to be able to identify a perfect program that's going to get you where you're going to go. And that's a great call because everyone is one decision away from changing their lives, and he's ready to make that change. And I thought that was amazing.
Love it.
Hey, you guys, always appreciate you coming in. The great real estate agents, Justin Woodbeck, Stephanie Sacco. These guys are awesome. Check them out at Thrive Realty. Again, they're in Troy. Just punch in Thrive Realty and Google it, and you can find these great agents. They have an office full of experts, and that's what's key. And you can always call us at 1-800-LOW-RATE, the best mortgage banker. We'll get you to that mountaintop. Just make that phone call. As Becky always says, you got to make the call and give it a try. All right, I see Pat Caputo. He's in the on-deck circle. He's coming up next with sports. Keep it here on 97.1 The Ticket. We'll see you next Saturday.